Awesome.
All right, guys, we are here. It is Monday night, and believe it or not, we have power, we have Wi Fi. We almost didn't have Wi Fi again, but we're here. We are live. It is Monday night. We are here with our guest, Mark Hoover, and our special guest, Rob Jones from Big Dig Artifact Adventures. I got to tell you, I was going through your website this week. I think I
Hmm.
want to do that.
Yeah, it's
I think
fun.
I
It's
want
a
to try
different
it.
type of adventure.
It is, and I like the whole
Yeah,
idea. You got the packages. You come out there for the whole day. You get lunches. You get waters,
yeah,
and you. I particularly like when you dig out the trenches and you screen them because
yeah.
then I don't have to jump.
Makes
I
it
don't have to
easier,
jump in the big
especially in
holes.
this heat. Yeah, it
So
makes it easier, especially in this heat. Certainly.
so tell us about your flight. Anybody doesn't know. Well, Rob will tell you about it. But I just went through some of the videos and some of the points and the Native American stuff that's coming out of the ground is awesome.
Mhm.
I mean, it's some
Yeah.
really quality stuff.
Thanks, Frank. It's been a good site so far. We're right outside of Lake Wales in Polk County, Florida, and it's been a really good site. Mark was out there, and mainly the site it's all ancient Native American relics, artifacts, and everything so far at our site has been right around 1,000 years old, up to about 5 or 6,000 years old.
No kidding.
So a
That's
couple
crazy.
different time periods there, and some beautiful material, some great relics and artifacts. Makes a lot of people happy, especially first time finders and first time artifact hunters. It's
Sure.
really cool.
Now
Yeah.
with the I've seen a lot of the arrowheads and the spearheads and stuff that comes out.
Yeah, yeah.
What are there any other artifacts? I mean, are you doing the bowls? Are you doing any of that kind of stuff that come out of the ground there?
No, we actually we find a lot of broken bowls and pottery. It's exceptionally rare to find a whole bowl. Matter of fact, I've been artifacting 35 years and I've never found a whole one. They break too easy, and the type of sites that we look at are usually lithic scatter, little I guess you'd call them little encampments
Right.
and things of that nature, to where they didn't really leave behind a lot of
They didn't
some
have
of the
long term
higher end
residency
bowls.
there. They
Yeah,
weren't they
yeah.
were they were dug in there for a long time.
Right, right. Some of them they've been there for a little while, but bowls are just almost non-existent.
Right.
You find those mainly in burial mounds and things like that, and of
Right.
course, we don't go anywhere near any of that, of course.
That's
What
awesome.
was that? What was that little thing that you pulled up about a week ago that you said that was extremely rare?
Yeah, there was a lady. You were asking about other relics. Every once in a while, we find shark's teeth that the natives used and brought in. Some of them are drilled, some of them are just ground down, but they would use them to either carve. They would use them as tools to either carve or cut things. Some
Okay.
of them were drilled, had holes in them. They would use as pendants or necklaces or earrings or things like that. But like Mark just brought up, a lady found what's called a boat stone the other day. And again, in 35 years, I've never even found a broken one. It is exceptionally rare. It's the stone that it was made out of is steatite, which only comes from Virginia and a little further south up to down to about North Georgia. But there's no native stone, no indigenous steatite in the state of Florida.
Yeah,
So
this
they
is
had to
this
have
is
carried that
definitely
down here. But what a boat stone is it's an atlatl weight. So it's like a spear thrower counterbalance. So it'd be on the end of the handle, so that when you can imagine if you're hunting and you have a long spear and you're waiting for a deer or maybe a person to come out, or different types of
right.
game. You would get fatigue from holding it, because it would be more weight in the front than it would in the back, so they get fatigued. So they would use that to counterbalance the
Ah,
weight.
no
Is
good.
one of the theories. One of the theories.
That's cool.
Yeah,
And what
yeah,
what do
exceptionally
we
rare.
know? Do we know that the Native American tribe, the people that were down in this area?
We actually don't. They say that a lot of them are affiliated with tribes now, which is possible. In that area, there were Patano and Calusa, especially those tribes. But it's so prehistoric. We're talking thousands of years
Right.
before, colonization or, European explorers. So we don't have a written language.
Well,
Um,
Ronnie and Mark were there then. I'm just
Yeah,
throwing that out there.
they were helping them fashion all that stuff. weren't
Not
I
us young
actually
guys,
dropped a couple of those out there.
they? But
us
it's-
young guys got to read about it in books, but these guys lived it.
yeah, but they have a hard time tracing it back. We still follow all the NAGPRA laws, which is, and we have to be aware and sensitive to anything of that nature with the tribes. If we find anything that would be considered, ceremonial or mortuary, we would shut down
that's
the
the thing,
site and
so-
get a hold of the tribe, the local tribe.
That's the thing. So up north, my big thing, my kind of my specialty. It kind of grew into my specialty is I recover graves. I go and I do these old cemeteries some of them have been lost to time, and I'll use the ground penetrating radar and stuff to recover the graves, which is
Yeah,
all
Mary, you
good.
mentioned that's awesome.
And when I came to Florida, I realized that it's really a no to stick anything in the ground in an interment site.
Sure.
So what
Sure.
do you what restrictions do you have? Do you not have restrictions because it's not a known burial site? Do you have restrictions of digging the stuff up? How do you get around? How do you circumvent some of the intense
Some of the laws and
here?
Yeah, talk about the Florida laws, Rob. Like, what are the laws, and then what are you doing that we can do that?
Well, the only way to collect anymore in Florida, it had been a law for a long time. They did enforce it. There was a lot of people, and unfortunately, a lot of people, what happens with just about anything is the bad guys made it hard on the good guys.
Absolutely.
And they changed the laws or started to enforce them, much more stringently. With us, I have an open dialogue with the state of Florida Bureau of Archaeological Research and also the University of Florida, and they've asked for site reports. As far as the laws go, only if there's a mound are we on private property, or we have to stay away from anything like that. Or if we
Right.
find anything, any type of bone or anything, we most certainly have to shut the site down and
So
and
if it
notify the
becomes
state.
defined as a burial site of any kind,
I'm sorry.
if the area you're digging becomes defined as a burial site, if you find human
Exactly.
remains, you have a
Yeah.
burial mound.
Yeah, exactly. So if there are any type of burials there and we come across them, we would shut it down, notify the state. They would send people in to do their digs, and we'd probably leave the site at that point if that were to happen.
Right.
That just almost never happens, though. The sites that we're in are what's deemed lithic scatter sites, which means there's, ancient Native American stone tools.
A lot of
bone.
travel sites, travel through sites and stuff like that.
Yeah, bone artifacts,
Yeah.
things of that nature. Things that were not buried in mortuary style. As far as the laws go, if you're on private property with permission, and what we do, our company, we actually do, I approach landowners where I know or believe that there are sites on it, Native American sites, ancient ones. And I asked them if we could do a survey of the site. And if they let us, and they, I let them know how much money they could make. I explained the laws to them, which is on private, because most people are not aware of the laws, which is, it's basically, if it's state owned, government owned, public lands or waterways managed by the state, you cannot pull anything man-made 50 years old or older off of it. That includes old bottles or coins or anything. It has to be private property with permission.
Okay.
So it's just like if I had a watch, and on my beachfront, I lost it and it was engraved with my name on it. My son went and picked it up 50 years and 1 second later, legally, he's not allowed to keep it. So that's the law, and they're trying to protect the state lands. A lot of people were making it bad, like I was saying.
Right.
But private property with permission, as I was saying, our company, we do a contract lease agreement with the landowner, and we pay them a certain percentage for allowing us to do what we do. We're basically, as my landowner now said, which was really funny, he's basically selling dirt, but he gets to keep the dirt, So it's kind of funny, but he's right in a way, and everything that we're finding so far is just, it's arrowheads, and there's billions of them. They're everywhere.
Now,
I don't think people
are you operating
understand that.
multiple sites simultaneously, or do you move to a new site and that's your concentration until you burn it out?
Yeah, as of right now, we're only working one site. My hope is I would like to buy 2 or 3. I'm looking to buy some land now. Hopefully in the Gainesville area and the Tampa area is where I'm looking. They're very well known for rich archaeological sites, and I would like to have multiple sites open. Especially, I get a lot of people. We have a lot of people come from Texas, North Carolina, Alabama, Georgia, and it would be nice to have some sites closer to them so they don't have to travel as far. So that's my intent. But as of right now, we are working one site.
That's awesome. I'm going to show a quick video.
Okay.
This is one of the people out of your sites, and I guess they're down in a trench and they're popping out a point.
Okay.
And I'm going to show this real quick. Okay, the first I'm going to do is I'm going to remember how to do this. I'm going to show this in the stream. Then I'm going over here. Then I'm going to hit this button.
Oh my goodness.
And then
Our buddy Jody's just pulling one now. Look at that
this is a good
citrus,
one,
everybody. Oh, I just closed up the thing down.
Is that Jody Kosia?
Yes, it is.
Yep, it's hanging in there.
Oh, that's a big base. Oh. It's growing. It's growing on me.
You can see how exciting it is,
These guys, they cheer, man.
That is killer.
Yes.
Jody, congratulations, brother. Congratulations.
That's what you're after, Jody.
God dang it, man.
Congratulations, buddy. One more time. Let me see it.
That thing was
That was a good one.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. That was a great one. And if you know Jody, that's why you can. He's just a hoot. He's just such a fun, easy guy to be around, and he just makes everything fun. So he actually found that at our Treasure Island location, which is where we opened, and that was the first point off the site. The first day that we
Treasure Island near me.
This is Treasure Island. I'm not sure where you are. This is Treasure Island in Lake County.
Oh, no, okay. I'm down here.
On Lake Griffin. Yeah, Lake Griffin.
I thought it was Treasure Island where I haven't found anything yet. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Just saying.
So before you get away from that video,
Yeah.
Bob, talk a little bit about that process where he was in the hole and how they scraped down a little bit.
You have two different methods where you trench and you'll either spend the day screening, or guys will literally get in there, spend the day in the hole with their shovels, right?
Right. So what we do is, as we're doing our testing on properties, we take note and make notes and put it in our logbooks and everything as to where the richer sites are. So we dig trenches with our backhoes, and we take the dirt out of the trenches and put it in piles, which will go through the screen sifter,
right?
For people to push through. But then we leave the trench really nice and clean, a nice wall, so people can just get in with their. Our guests can come out and just get in with a shovel or whatever tool they prefer. I've dug with a shovel my whole life until I got into this. But they get in with a shovel, and you could actually see how his, the lines in the sand where he was shaving straight down. So you just shave straight down and take like a 1/4 inch off at a time,
right?
Real slow, so you don't hit things and break them.
And then eventually you may expose the corner of a point or something. And
Yep. And when you slide down on you hit it with the metal. Obviously, you can hear it, and it could be bone or pottery, but you'll know that something's there, and you stop. You definitely don't want to hit any more with that shovel because it'll break them. They're very easy to break. So then you just dig it out, and like you saw Jody and all of us do. We try to get videos and pictures of it and stuff.
It's great. They're totally into it. I told I was never really my thing, and then I watched a couple of videos. Like I just told Celeste, I think I want to go do that.
Yeah, it's really cool. I get a lot of metal detectorists and fossil hunters that had never done it, and had kind of the same attitude as well. I've never done that, and they'll watch a video or see some of the videos we post, and they feel the same way. Like, I've got to try it. Next thing I know, they're coming back every weekend.
It's cool. I mean, it's awesome.
Crazy fun.
Especially some of these ones that I've seen pulled out, which are amazing pieces.
They
really
are really. We've been really blessed with some really great sites so far. So hoping that trend continues at our next site.
I would be going back a lot more often, except it's too hot right now.
It is
But
unbearable almost.
I loved it the day that I was there.
Yeah.
I did the screening process, and Frank, the screening process, they bring Rob brings the dirt to you, put it on the screen, and then you're screening all day long, except for lunch, right? Now,
Yeah,
Rob,
except for lunch, yeah.
I want the part where you just stand there and somebody else screens for you.
I like that. When I used to do the digs in Pennsylvania, that was the best part because I had a bunch of students all day long shaking the shakers, and I sat in chairs and I got suntan. And then they yell, "What's this?"
You want the premium package, don't you, Mark?
Yeah, I want that premium package. Bring me a beer, let them screen.
But that was a really cool point for Jody for our first one. That one was made out of a really high-end material, and it's called a citrus point. It's right about 3,000 years old.
No kidding.
So yeah. That's why everybody was so excited because it's hard to find them perfect. That's why everyone's so excited. Like if it was broken,
that was my next question. What's the percentage of the whole complete ones that you pull out of the ground?
I'd say you're looking at about a 70 to 30% rate in general. You're 70% being broken points. It's hard to get nice, clean, perfect ones. It is. They've been sitting there for thousands of years. It's amazing. We still find as many as we do that are in such good shape.
We'll take the area you're in now. What is the main medium that they're made from?
The site that we're at now, most everything is a chalcedony, some type of it's an agatized. It's basically a small pond that got covered and pressurized for millions of years, and it turned into this. Another name for it is ledge rock, but that a lot of divers use. But it's in the limestone where the natives would get it out, and most of it all came out of the lakes or the sinkholes that are close by.
Yeah, good.
But mainly everything at our site now would be chalcedony or agatized coral, and some of it's Ocala formational, which is a chert. There's no true, even though we still call it flint, and I still call stone flint too. There's no true flint in North America, is my understanding. Not real flint. It's supposedly some off-brand shoot of it. It's
right.
I think the only true flint's like in England, France, Germany, places like that.
And like where nothing like obsidian or anything down here.
No, sir. No, not that I've never heard of obsidian being found in Florida. I do know it was found certainly east of the Rockies and everything, and a lot of Hopewell mounds in Ohio, Michigan, New Jersey, stuff like that. I know there's a lot that was found up there, but it
was amazing to me because I had never really even seen it until I had gone out to Idaho, and they take me to where the ground is literally covered with obsidian.
Oh yeah, it's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Obsidian's a really unique stone, by the way. It's the only stone, if I'm not mistaken, it's the only knappable stone that natives use that has a signature. So you can determine, because of the way it was heated, exactly where the source of every single piece of obsidian that you'll ever see. You can actually find out where it came from.
So it's got its own fingerprint. That's cool.
It does. It has its own fingerprint. Yeah.
I got cut on a really nice piece of obsidian out in Ohio.
I believe it.
Sharp, man. Let me tell you why.
It probably got you good because that stuff is amazingly sharp.
Then very, very recently I got cut again because I was digging through the side pockets of my truck and found an old piece of obsidian I had got from Ohio, and I stuck it in my finger a second time.
Yeah. It's an amazing thing. I've seen microscopic pictures of a scalpel with a piece of obsidian. And a scalpel line will be jagged in the microscopic picture, whereas obsidian will be a straight line.
Right. It's like the sharpest glass or sharpest rock that you can, and see these. And I see guys more contemporarily working it, and it's amazing to me how sharp that stuff is.
Yeah.
Hey, Rob, how do the Florida arrowheads compare with like other areas of the country, like Texas or some of the areas, and are they rarer or are they harder to find? What's the Florida?
There are a lot of unique point types that you can only find in Florida. and the quality of the material, like if I'm not mistaken, agatized coral, and that's what most collectors would want around the globe. Actually, a lot of people collect agatized coral points. The only place you can find, if I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong on this, and please correct me if I am, but someone, agatized coral, the only nappable agatized coral in the United States is in the Tampa area, Polk County, Pasco, Hernando County, stuff like that. So that's a very desirable stone. And points made out of it are exceptionally desirable for collectors. As far as quality, I think that Florida, a lot of collectors are from around the states, because I'm friends with a lot from all over the U.S. I've been doing it a long time, and I personally, I don't think I'd want many other points other than Florida points.
Really?
I might be a little biased, but Texas has some amazing artifacts, and they are not kidding about everything being bigger in Texas. I don't know what it is. Their sites are bigger. The points are bigger. It's unreal, the quality of the points that come out of those guys, like GT's dig, if you don't mind if I plug them, or TW Dodds or Jonesboro. Those guys have screen digs, which is where we got the idea to do it here in Florida, matter of fact. Because I had went out to Texas to look.
So Frank, just to clear this up, when you're using your GPR in cemeteries in Florida, you're not allowed to sell the bodies for medical research like you used to in New Jersey.
No, we can't work the bones and make points out of them and try and sell them at the roadside stand. No.
This is the kind of stuff you had to put up with, Rob.
That's fine.
I was like, I got a call to do. I was just kind of, I'm used to up north where we have a protocol. Okay. I developed a protocol for doing this, and it was a hard sell at first because it involves guys with metal detectors. And we go into these old cemeteries, and we'll locate grave sites with the GPR. And then I bring in 2, 3, 4 metal detectorists, and we go over each individual grave site. And there's no digging more than 3 inches, 4 inches deep. And over the years, some of the personal items that were brought by families or whatever have actually identified the grave. We have found 3 Purple Hearts doing that, and one of them actually identified an entire line of graves that were lost, because once we pinpointed the guy who had posthumously been given a Purple Heart, then the plot plan allowed us to identify a bunch of people next to him. Well, when I got down here, it was a whole different story. It took me years to sell.
Everything's different. I mean, Florida,
I've done Pennypack Park Church and Cemetery, which dates to the 1670s, and they loved it. They wanted. They invited. They gave me like 19 other churches to do, and all dating to the 16 and 1700s. And they were very open. University of Pennsylvania just like completely embraced me and brought me on digs and everything. And then I come to Florida, they're like, "No, you're evil. Get away with it."
I get a lot of that myself. I gotta tell you the truth. I got beat up pretty bad when we first opened this.
I bet. I can say, you come in with a backhoe, and nothing you do is good. I'm sorry. And that's how they look at it.
Well, even when we posted online, it was mainly people that were misinformed or uninformed. They think that every time there's an arrowhead, there's it's a grave site or a burial site.
You got to shut nothing should be touched. Everything should be
just not like that. Yeah, it's just not like that at all. And unfortunately, prior to the 70s and 60s when the laws changed, they didn't care, and even up into the 70s and 80s, in the 50s and prior, they just bulldozed burial mounds or used the stuff in the mound to make roads with. They didn't. There was no regard for any of it, and so it just got spread out. So there's not many of them left. That's
the biggest difference in the mentality I've seen coming down here. It's a completely different way of thinking. I have had metal detectors, ground penetrating radar, and probes on cemeteries, and some of these graves were relatives of Benjamin Franklin. The churches were so open to. We were finding the location of the original chapel. We were finding 200-year-old relics from the original churches that we were giving to them. They wanted us there. And then you come down here and I mean, we are the devil. down here.
Yeah.
It's a whole
No.
different.
Yeah.
Now, Frank,
Yeah.
when we were in Ohio, didn't you find
I
a
did.
lone Confederate grave? when we were up
And
there?
surprisingly, with all the work and research, I found this lost soldier underneath this big headstone with his name on it. Yeah, we did. The CWPPO group, where we were looking for artifacts from the Morgan's raid, and I went up with the radar to try and find this lost soldier, Billy McGee, the name they gave him. And the one thing about this area in Ohio is, magically, every single person that lives in this area all has Billy McGee buried in their backyard. That was the belief.
Oh, really?
That was the belief. And I came across this old man, this 90-year-old guy driving around in this Gator. He goes, "What are y'all doing?" And I told him. He goes, "Well, I know where he's at." I said, "You do? Where?" He goes, and he told me the whole story. When they were in like 1919, they were digging up this dry riverbed to put a gas line in, and they came across the bones. And from where he was found, they put him up on the side of a hill, and they built a monument to him, put him underneath. So he ran me out there. I ran the radar all around. We put the handheld radar on the side, and sure enough, there's an ossuary kind of box underneath. And I said, "Yeah, no doubt." Yeah, we always knew that's where he was, and sure enough, that's where he was.
Wasn't just another story, huh?
Yeah, but I'm in 900 people's backyards. He's under my oak tree. Okay, there you go. But it was good. It was good to put a little closure on that one. But the only arrowheads I have ever found, is metal detecting, and that's because they happen to pop out with a musket ball or something. That's the only time. I go with guys that sit there, and they're like they'll walk through a field, they'll pull up 10 arrowheads. I could trip over an arrowhead and I wouldn't see it unless I happen to pop it out of a hole with a gum wrapper or something, and that's how I got the few arrowheads that I have. Now I have a question for you.
Yeah.
So there was a couple of fields up in Jersey that a couple of the groups were really successful at popping points out of the ground.
Okay.
And they would literally, I met these two women one day that rolled up on a field that we happened to be metal detecting.
Mm-hmm.
And they pulled out 2 rake handles with nothing on the end. They were just kind of pointed. And they walked the entire ground, and they would poke this thing, and they'd flip a little bit there, and they walked out of this field with like 9 arrowheads.
Wow.
What the heck are they doing? I couldn't make heads or tails of what they were doing.
That's a flipping stick.
Yeah. It sounds like they were hitting stuff because was that more of a clay-based field? Probably?
Well, it was plowed. Now it was a farm field. It was a plowed field.
Okay.
And in Jersey, I mean, we have pockets of clay-based stuff, but this was black soil.
Sounds like they were just probing. They were hitting it for sound. So you can, matter of fact, I have a point right here. Like, can you hear that?
Yeah.
They make a lot of noise when you hit them with something, So
I even followed them around, and I couldn't figure out what they were doing. And
we used to use
they're bending over,
pitchforks.
picking up arrowheads.
Yeah, we used to use pitchforks until we started making our own wide probes for land sites. When you go to construction site or the old orange groves back when they used to disc them before herbicides and stuff. You could just walk around and just do like you're saying with them. They'd probably just walk around and they'd hear it, while they were probing and walking.
It was amazing.
Bend down and flip it open.
Yeah, it was amazing to me. It was a good site for metal detecting too, but they were popping arrowheads out of the ground there.
Well, that gives you an idea of how many there are out there.
Yeah,
I mean,
sure.
Just popping them out like that. I mean, they're everywhere. I mean, they were here for 14,000 years.
The last arrowhead I found, I literally pulled a coin out of the ground and with the coin, popped an arrowhead.
That's what I was going to say earlier. I was curious. I was going to ask you guys if y'all find, as you're looking and walking fields like you do, especially the turned over fields or construction sites. I would be surprised that you guys didn't come across more of them, but you're not really looking for them. So
that's the thing. And some of the guys are just better at it than I am. I focus so much on and I probably shouldn't, but I focus so much on the coil. But guys will tell me that they love to go out to the farm fields, especially the plowed farm fields, right after a nice little rain, a light rain or whatever. And they said that's when they'll see them on the surface.
Right.
After
Yes, sir.
plowed, they'll pick them right up off the surface.
I did that for most of my early career of looking for points before we didn't know what digging was, hardly anybody did it, when I was doing it when I was younger. And I found my first point going to school in Gainesville in the middle of the city. I was teaching my roommate how to throw a Navy knife. My dad had taught me when I was younger, and I went to go pick it up off the ground. And like I said, in the middle of the city in an apartment complex, and there was a big arrowhead laying right next to it.
No kidding.
Yeah. So my roommate, he was a guy I grew up with, and he's like, we find those in Claremont all the time, which is where I live and I grew up. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I said, this is really cool, And he goes, yeah, call Craig. So I called my buddy Craig, and Craig's like, yeah, I've been doing that since I was, born. My grandparents did it. My parents did it. And they started taking me, and we just started walking orange groves and shorelines, when we were young.
Now that's where we find the most of them. We used to go up along the Delaware River outside of Philly, across the river in Jersey and Philly, and find all kinds of Native American stuff there. I mean, we pulled the axe heads and stuff out of these farms. And
oh, sure.
I never knew what the hell they were, but
yeah,
now
it's amazing how much is out there. It just keeps coming too.
Rob, I got a question. I got a question for you.
Uh-huh.
So you mentioned that 70% that comes out is probably broken versus 30 that are whole.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about points that are restored? And you know what I mean when I say restored? Like I had a guy, I found my first arrowhead with you, but it had a broken tip.
Right.
But I had an artist who could actually restore that so it looks whole. How do you feel about that?
This one right here is restored.
Now, when they're restored, do they use the same medium they're made out of to do the restoration?
No, sir. These are, most points are made out of some type of a stone, a lithic material of some sort. But there's a company called Lithic Art Restoration, and it's Dr. Gomer Pyle and his son Teban, and they're amazing at restoring. They do stuff from all over the world, but they're incredible. And they actually restored this one. But they usually use epoxies, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, okay.
And they color the epoxies, and
they'll match the color and the textures and stuff.
Yeah, so if you can see that, you can't tell where it was fixed, right?
No, it could be broken, and I wouldn't be able to tell.
And I got this one fixed because this is a paleo. This is an old Swanee that's probably about 11,000 years old.
Okay.
And they're so rare. They're so hard to find when they get that old. There was such a minimal group of paleo Indians here.
Right.
So when you find one, even a base, you're just like, oh, I got to restore it. So I love it. I actually love restored points. I don't have a problem with it whatsoever.
Okay.
I'll do it if it's a nice point. And I just found a point a couple of days ago, matter of fact, that I'm going to have restored. I was like, oh my God, it's so nice. It's missing just a little piece. It's like,
and I hate to reduce that conversation down to dollars and cents.
Okay.
But in the trading market, in the selling of these artifacts, is there a difference in the value if it has been restored compared to pulled out of the ground whole?
Most certainly. Like, just to give you an idea, if this was a completely whole point and there was nothing wrong with it, and I had found it whole, complete and whole, that's about a $3,000 or $4,000 point, I would say. But I had the tip restored, so it's been restored actually probably from here up, the top. The tip.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, so the way it is now, it's not worth. If you find one broken, just the base, maybe because this is paleo, $50 or $100, but restored probably about $100, $150. Something like that.
Okay.
Give you an idea of cost. When they're really perfect, they're worth a lot more money, and especially if they're really made. Everything has its own determinant factors, just like coins. Some people, if it's mint and it's graded and everything, it's going to be a much higher price. Whereas if it's worn or used down or something, it's going to lower the price dramatically.
Okay.
So it's about the same type of grading system too.
Now,
G10, G1 through G10.
I'm going to start looking more for. All you had to say was $11,000 point, and I'm like, I'm going to start looking. I'm going to start looking on the ground better.
Frank's going to be out there napping here tomorrow. He'll be out there. He'll be making his own arrowheads.
I'm getting some guys from Idaho. They're going to send me some obsidian down. We're going to make it.
That actually brings up the next question. So,
okay,
Rob, a lot of people now, I say a lot, I've heard of a lot of people that are now starting to do modern reproductions. They're doing their own napping.
There's a ton of videos, Mark. I've been looking at a ton of videos lately.
Can you
Everywhere,
look at a arrowhead and tell whether it's been modern napped versus old? How do you do that?
Yeah, most of us can. That's been doing it for a long time. Number one is what's called a patina. So it's just like coins or gold or silver. It gets a patina until you clean it, right? Everything ages. There's minerals in the ground, of course, and other factors that will cause this patina on on stone. That's the number one.
Like a chemical reaction, or is it?
It is
a buildup.
I think it's a little of both. It's a chemical reaction and a buildup. I believe, especially if they've been turned, in the soil or anything like that, or had water run over them. Water minerals will change the color of artifacts dramatically. A lot of points that come out of water are black or blue or gray, whereas the ones out of the ground will be its natural color, unless they have a really heavy patina, depending on the acidic environment of the soil. But not only that, Mark, a lot of guys or a lot of nappers, a lot of people that nap, it's called napping, when they'll cut slabs of stone, and they usually just pressure flake, which means they're taking, we'll just use this. This is actually a bone pin, but they would take that and they would push against the edges, if you can see this. And when you push down, it flakes it off. You push real hard, it flakes it. Well, when they make those slabs, you always have a median ridge going right up through the center, or it just doesn't look right. You can tell by looking at it also, it'll have what are called hinge fractures. So they just, like where a point that's been sitting there for say 5,000 years will have dirt up under all those little cracks.
That was my other question. Is
a
this
new one won't? So,
this is the result of it being new and not in the ground for thousands of years?
Yeah. Yep, certainly. And there's other factors as well, Mark. Like you can use a jeweler's loop, and look at the edge of points that are in question. Especially if you're spending large money, you want to do these kind of tests. You can use a microscope or a jeweler's loop or a magnifying glass, and you can actually see a lot of nappers use copper now. They don't use deer antlers, which is what Native Americans used, ancient Native Americans. They didn't have metal, thousands of years ago.
Right.
So they would use deer antler. Well, copper, when you use it on stone, it'll leave just a minute residue on there, which will eventually turn green. Almost everybody uses copper that naps if they're not using a stone or a piece of antler. So you can see those little micro green specks that tells you that somebody reworked it or made it with copper.
So I'm assuming, so when these things were made new 1,000, 10,000 years ago,
okay,
a blade point like that, I'm assuming it would have been very sharp.
Exceptionally. And they're still sharp now when you find them.
That's my question. In the ground for that long, does that get sandblasted down? Does it remain really, really sharp, or does it get worn down and rounded?
If it's in its own natural environment to where it wasn't tumbled or anything, like a river or something like that, but if it's in the ground at we'll just say a flat site, the ground's pretty level, or a small hill to where there's not a lot of erosion on it, they're exceptionally sharp. Mark, is yours still sharp?
Yeah, it really is. That's what really surprised me, was just how sharp that thing is.
Like coins, artifacts, things we pull out of the ground. Generally speaking, if you pull it out of the ground and it's got super, super sharp edges, it may not have been there as long as you think it's been there.
Right.
And that's why I questioned. I was wondering if they came out rounded or if they maintained their sharpness.
Now, here's one I found not too long ago. This is a citrus, about 3,000 years old, citrus clay. Exceptional point. But I'm telling you, if I just push it not too hard on my hand, it'll split it right open. It's razor sharp. Yeah.
Wow.
Now, surprisingly razor sharp.
Through the country. So what is the strongest material? I mean, I'm sure everybody in their own little area tried to use the strongest material for this stuff, the most resilient material. Well, what's the weakest material that these points are made of? What's the best stuff that they're made of?
Well, different stones, there's different grades per different stone from the inside core of the stone
Yeah.
to the outside. It usually comes in some type of cobble or rounded or, large outcrop shape.
Right.
So the deeper usually you get into the stone, the harder the stone is. That's been heated and pressurized a lot more. It's got a lot more pressure on
So
it.
basically,
So
you're shooting for the
made
inside of the stone.
You would, however, something really unique that the technology that the Native Americans came up with is that they got tired of working raw stone, so they found out something happened that showed them that you could cook the stone and make it more like glass and easier to work, and it's also sharper when you cook it.
Right.
But it also changes the color of the stone.
Right.
So this point, 10,000 years ago, I was showing you is uncooked raw stone, but this was cooked. They would take and make I've got one in here somewhere, but they would make something like this, like a preform.
Right.
Okay. So this one's unnotched and all that. And this is more of a tool, but I'm trying to illustrate a point. But this is actually what a preform would look like. So you can actually see they would knock it down to that size, and you can see how once they work it more,
they
would
can
come
see
down
the
to
form they're shooting for in that
Thank
piece.
you. Yeah. So that form, they would actually take that form from the site, and it would make it easier for them to travel with. It'd make it lighter, that preform. So they bring back a whole bunch of blanks. We'll call them blanks. And they would dig a hole around, is my understanding, make a jar, put a lot of the charcoal and all the burning embers into the hole, put the slabs of stone in there that they had knocked down, and let it cook and solidify. It makes it almost just like obsidian, Obsidian
like a glass.
is heated. It's exactly what it is. It's heated silicas and, pressurized sands.
Okay.
So, Yep. So they would cook it, and they found out that it not only made it prettier, but it made it easier to work and sharper too.
Now there's so many arrow points. I mean, like you said, you can't believe how many there are.
Yeah.
Do you have
if they launch an arrow at a deer or something, did they just make thousands of points so they never had to go recover their arrow?
I think they tried to recover them. I think they're not much different than hunters now.
Right.
You spend time. For us, it's money. For them, it was time.
And work and labor.
Yeah. So it'd be hard to just make something and throw it and say, I'm just going to let it go without trying to look for it, especially if you did not hit a deer. You'd want to go look for it, and try and find it. I believe they recovered them. And I also believe that they were and my understanding with other collectors, we all feel the same, is that Native Americans were the first arrowhead collectors or point collectors, I mean,
really?
Imagine walking around, it's not much different now. Like if we walk in Orange Grove or a shoreline, say to them, or an area that's been eroded with water, and they were walking around, they saw one, I'm sure they would pick it up.
Now, what like you're saying, you have found stuff down here that isn't necessarily indigenous to this area, may have come from Georgia. Were arrow points a source of trade, a method of trade?
Certainly. Matter of fact, at our Treasure Island site that same weekend, right after that guy in the video, Jody found that. Our good friend Jody was hand digging, as you saw, and Mike was up on the tables, and Mike found a really unbelievable point on the table that's made out of Tallahassee quartzite. It's a solidified or silicified sandstone,
right?
Which means it's a glass-like type of sandstone.
Now, that from being heated as well, or is that natural formation?
I believe that this piece was heated because of the time period. It's actually a point type from Alabama and Mississippi, which, if I'm not mistaken, it's the only place in the world you can find Tallahassee quartzite.
Right.
Alabama, Mississippi, but he found it at our Treasure Island location.
No good.
Unbelievable artifact. And if you go to the site, you'll see it on there. Matter of fact, I think it's my cover picture now. It's a big clear one it's got these little gray bubbles in it.
I just think it's because I know some of the stuff that was traded between the Native Americans. This seems like it would be pretty valuable to them, especially if you're in the area that you don't necessarily have the materials to make good points.
So
exactly.
Freddie, the way that Ronnie and I collect arrowheads is they would throw them at us, and we would dodge them, and then we'd pick them up off the ground and run.
Try to throw a couple back at him.
My question though is, what did you and Ronnie do to kill the dinosaurs? That's the only thing I've been figuring out.
But yeah, there's some great locations that, you know, every once in a while you'll find some rare stuff. I had mentioned earlier about the Hopewell Mounds. Hopewell Mounds are very famous in Ohio and Illinois and Indiana for having very exotic materials. A lot of fossilized shark's teeth and shark's teeth, shell stuff from the Gulf Coast, things of that nature, obsidian from out west.
Right.
You know, different types of materials from all over the states that are found in those.
And that's interesting because how would they get there?
Yeah, they had to traded it in. Yeah,
exactly.
And there's an island. There's actually an island in St. Augustine that they have determined that some of the natives would come from Central Florida to this island with these large, they're called Loch Lusa Noonans, these large type of Noonan points, which are about 5,000 or 6,000 years old. And they would trade northern Indians from Ohio, Georgia, Alabama, stuff like that would come to this island with exotic hardstones like slate or granite artifacts like gorgets or necklace pendant pieces and things like that.
Right.
But that's what that island was used for. Nobody lived on it from what they're saying, the archaeologists have said. But they only came there just to trade these exotic goods.
Now, when they I know when they would find material like this, and I'm sure arrow points was, you know, a necessity of life to survive.
Sure.
Did they use the same methods and materials? Is that what they made jewelry, or is the jewelry more, you know, more natural shells and things along that? Did they fashion jewelry? Did they have an aesthetic value to them?
The only thing I've seen with jewelry, I've never seen any of the nappable stone, like we were mentioning, the chalcedony or the agatized coral or other
Right.
shirts. I've never seen anything made for an ornamental item out of any of those. However, I certainly agree with what you said. Yes, they did use a lot of more organic materials,
Right.
Especially like a shell. You find a lot of shell beads or bone beads, things that actually perish. We don't find many of them because they're so perishable.
I was just wondering because these points, this material would be so valuable to their lifestyle. Would they waste it to make, you know, something aesthetic?
Hey,
No, not so much as far as the nappable material or the stuff for you know, killing animals or people. You know,
Right.
you know, I mean, we always have to remember they were killing people too, but unfortunately, but I've never seen any type of nappable stone that was used for any ornamental items or ceremonial items other than large blades.
Right.
I've seen those in the archaeological record and museums and stuff like that. You know, they'll make the nicest, biggest points out of the most exotic, beautiful material to put with, you know, the chiefs or somebody important. You know,
Right. Yeah. Sure.
some type of importance, just like
Top
King
of
Tut's
the
too.
food chain type stuff for your importance.
Yeah.
So you're,
so
that's pretty cool.
Rob, somebody in the chat mentioned that Big Red is the most expensive point to be sold here in Florida. Do you know about that?
I do. That was a famous point found by Carlos Tatum, if I'm not mistaken.
That's what he said. How
Down
much
by
was it sold
Tampa.
for?
I can't remember. I know it was more than 50,000
Wow.
for that one point. Yeah, it
Ron,
was sold for a lot.
I'm selling my metal detectors.
Yeah.
I'm going
I have a funny
Well, I have one on
buy
my
slip
phone.
sticks now.
I mean, I found one and I got offered $18,000 for it. I mean, they're worth a lot of money. These paleo points are. I was really fortunate to come across a paleo site, and I found 38 whole perfect paleos, and I've had a lot of people offer me a lot of money for those points.
Okay.
And yeah. So I mean, it depends on the point, you know. I know a guy that found a cache of 10 points, and he sold them. He found 2 caches at the same site, and he got over $300,000 for those 2 caches.
We're
So
in the
there's-
wrong
The
business.
points I found are in a jar with some marbles on my windowsill.
The thing is I think that's what, you know, ruined it for everyone is the monetary value, you know.
Exactly. It's always a shame to reduce it to that, but
Yeah.
in the collector world, which dominates at this point.
Oh yeah. Sure.
Yeah. If you don't put a monetary value, then everybody's going to lose interest in it, and that's a shame.
They said in chat that Big Red sold for $65,000 to Steve Reyes.
Steve Reese, yeah, good friend of mine.
Steve Reese. Okay.
Yeah, and now if I'm not mistaken, I think it's in the Ike Rainey collection now. I'm pretty sure it's in Ike Rainey's collection. Ike Rainey has, I would say, the largest collection in Florida, without doubt.
What's
Phenomenal. Ike Rainey.
Okay.
Rainey Construction. He was one of the original builders of the villages.
Okay.
Amazing collection. Amazing collection.
Now, do you do other stuff like fossil hunting or metal detecting? What other stuff?
I do. I just went fossil hunting yesterday. Matter of fact, that's why I'm burned. I actually just when was it? Last week I went and I found a mammoth, and I found most of his jaw and a lot of the teeth. And I wanted to go back and see if we could find more. And I also found some 3-toed horse, a whole jaw and all the teeth in it, which was really great. But I wanted to see if I could find some of the tusk. And I went yesterday and I found some more horse teeth and stuff. But I found like 5 or 6 pieces of the tusk, actually, which is the first time I've ever found tusk, by the way.
That's awesome.
That's amazing.
Very rare. Very rare. You might find little pieces and stuff. I think I found 1 or 2 other pieces in my career, but they're hard to come by. I was hoping to find the whole tusk is what I was going after.
I just need one of those $65,000 points. That's all. I'm
Exactly.
totally content with my collection at that point.
Now, a lot of people don't know this, but in Florida, you can get a fossil license for $5, right?
That is, you can get a fossil permit from University of Florida, which is a state issued, though. It just goes through UF, the paleontology program, University of Florida paleontology program.
So
but it's through the state, so you can look just about anywhere. They're actually closing down some of the rivers that you can dive and look for. The recent closure was the Mayaka, if I'm not mistaken.
Really?
So yeah, people are just hitting them too hard, and they're trying to, it's unfortunate. It's destroying a lot of the, sensitive wetlands and things of that nature. And, so too many people doing too much.
Is there any place you can go? I mean, if you're strolling around your neighbor's farm field, looking for fossils, do you have to have a fossil license? Does it cover everything? Where's the limitations on where you can and can't go with or without a fossil license?
My understanding is that you have to have a fossil permit to collect vertebrate, like the mammoth or the horse or something like that, mammals. If you're only looking for shark's teeth, you do not have to have a fossil permit.
Right.
Now,
invertebrate animals, you don't have
for wetlands, or is this for any place?
Anywhere. The permit applies the same everywhere.
Okay.
The trick is always to, it's legal to dig a little bit in the bottom, but a lot of people are digging out the banks of the rivers, like the. Well,
I'm saying if I'm getting my feet wet in the river and I come across a fossil, can I pick it up and take it home, or do I need a?
You're supposed to have it depends on the fossil, but yes, if it's, say you found a vertebrae of a mammoth,
right?
You should have a fossil permit. Correct.
Yeah. We need to post that link.
And if you find an arrowhead, Frank, you better put it back.
I didn't find. Trust me, I haven't found anything in Florida.
So start digging under your house.
Island? Is that what you said?
I've got a ring, and I found a wallet with $1,000 in it last night, but I returned it.
If you're anywhere near Treasure Island, that whole area is loaded with ancient artifacts.
So Rob,
down there.
You ought to tell everybody how to find the Big Dig Florida and all. How do they sign up with you and all that good stuff?
Yeah, you go to the website www.thebigdigflorida.com.
And I'll post a link to your website up on the page after the show.
Awesome. Thank you, Frank. And but yeah, that's where we do that. The only place to book a reservation is through the website, and there's also, you can sign up for a subscription, and I'll send you updates if we move sites or anything major going on. And
I'm gonna do this, Rob. I'm intrigued.
That's awesome.
Now where I'm gonna do this. Maybe we'll try and put together a group and go down and do it.
Hey Frank,
That'd
if
be
you want to
fantastic.
do it, I know a guy that knows a guy.
Yeah, cool. I like the inside track. It's cool.
Mark, what is the thing going on in October here in Orlando?
Yeah, so the Central Florida Metal Detecting event is coming up in October 7th. And then there's another competition the following day on Sunday. And then Monday, I found out was a federal holiday. So we might be able to put together a
What-
group, Frank, on
Wait,
that Monday.
what holiday is that?
I don't know, but I just know it's a holiday.
Okay.
In the middle of October.
It's
Ronnie,
in-
we had a question on the chat. They want to know: Did you fashion small metal detectors out of rock in your day?
No, I always had it built in right here. I just happen to know where they're at. I don't know what it is. I've just always been good at finding them.
Well, Rob, you want to thank you for being here tonight. We are going. Oh, there's a mark.
Oh, nice, Mark. That looks great.
There's mine.
Yeah.
And this part was restored right here. Because
Yeah.
if you remember, Rob, it was broken on the tip,
It was, yes, sir. Yeah.
but I had a guy restore it for me. So this is
That
mine.
looks
This is my
great. He did a
first
good
ever-
job.
Yeah, he did a good job.
Yeah. Beautiful point, too. I like the case.
Yeah.
I could have fixed that with my ugly box there, Mark. Just telling you. Just saying. All right, guys. I want to thank you guys for coming on tonight. We're gonna give away something. What we got, Ron?
Oh, let's see. What do we got here?
He's going into the safe.
Yeah.
Going into the vault.
Probably a
That's-
mastodon tooth.
Mastodon tooth. Yeah, that would be nice. Let's see. What can we do here? Since we had such a special guest, let's do
By the way, Frank, you owe me an apology.
For what? What did I do now?
All those nasty things you said about not getting a jar of strawberry jam.
Uh,
And you want to? And what do you want to tell people?
I got two, and they're awesome. By the way. I will.
What,
I will
Mark, did
tell
you make 'em?
I will tell you my good
wife
deed.
does.
nice.
My good deed is we are giving one. You get one for me, and I tried to hide the other from Celeste, but she found it. But we're giving one of those jars to Celeste's mom.
Ooh.
Oh, nice.
1900 silver dollar. Real
Wow.
great shape here.
Fantastic.
I would probably call that one very close to an XF. Extra fine.
What, a silver dollar? You're giving away silver dollars?
Well, we have a special guest today. We can't just disappoint him
Oh.
and give away pennies. You know, anybody
Nice.
that's going to improve our statue in the community, we got to pay.
All right,
them.
guys. Right, well, like the page real quick. I'll start collecting the names, and we will give away my silver dollar. Is supposed to come to me, I think, but that's all right.
That's nice, Ron. That's a nice one.
Yeah, that's a pretty one.
Mhm.
Frank, Shelley told me to tell you that she appreciated you coming to New Jersey next weekend.
I know. I know she'll be coming to your next week. Tell Shelly I got the stickers, and I will have those boxes out to you ASAP.
You know, I actually toured the Monmouth Sheriff's Department, and I saw they told me about the battle there, and I was like, man, I'd give my left arm to hunt that battlefield. And not in a million years did I ever dream that I'd have the opportunity to do that.
You're going to be close to it. Yeah, you're going to be close to it. The battlefield itself. Well, the battlefield itself has been worked. They had very, very organized hunts, and like I said, they created trending maps like we did in Pennsylvania and stuff. But like I said, I've worked for the college. Can't get on Gettysburg, but we've worked many areas around Gettysburg. And I got to tell you, when they shot those musket balls, they didn't land on the battlefield because we found many items. I mean,
Wow, that's
tremendous
wild.
amount of items.
You know,
All right, so
Mark,
we're gonna- Go ahead.
Mark, our site where, we are now on Pierce there, we just found, I don't know if I mentioned this to you, but Jody, the guy in the video, he just got permission to a site that used to be a Patano village. And then it was taken over by the Spanish, and it was a Spanish mission for 100, 150 years, and we just got permission to metal detect.
That's outstanding.
That's
Outstanding. I don't need the details, just the longitude and latitude. That would be fine.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so I'm going to spin this wheel of sorts. And our winner is JBP. Janine Ballard Patterson. Congratulations.
All right.
You get yourself a $1.
Congrats.
Congrats.
Make
Congratulations.
sure she sends me her address.
JBP, send Ronnie a text, an email, whatever. Send it to the Gold Digger and give him your shipping info. If you don't know it, because Ronnie's very incognito, send it to me and I'll send it to him. Except if you send it to me, your shipping address will be Dunedin, Florida. I'm just telling you. So. And she is here, by the way. I picked your name and I saw your name on the chat, so I knew you were here. Congratulations. Very, very, very cool piece.
Yeah, very nice.
Not like the old days when Ronnie used to send them to me and I could pick out what I liked. That's all right.
Yeah, and then the ones that the people won never got them anyway. So
Well, they got them. It just took 6 months or so. So there's still maybe one or two on my table right now that haven't. I'm very, very busy. I'm fielding all these TV offers. It's insane.
And I want you to know, I texted, I Facebook messaged today with John Porcello, and he just told me all the beaches are now closed on the East Coast to you.
Really?
Yeah, I know they're all sanded in. They closed them. Mark, what do you think of a guy that invites me to a beach that I really want to detect, and then I get there, and he calls me on the phone and said, "Oh no, we can't go there. It's closed, or it's all sanded in." In the meantime, he's calling me while I'm standing in front of it.
Oh no.
I'm just saying. I'm not throwing anybody under the bus, John Porcello. I'm just saying. All right, guys. Thanks so much for being here, Rob. I appreciate. Great show, dude. You are.
Thank you for having us, friend.
And anytime I may pop an arrow-head out of the ground, I'm sending you a picture.
You better. I can't wait. I'd love to see it, and I'll help you identify it.
And I'm telling you right now, we're gonna organize a group to go down there.
We'll set something up and we'll work with Rob and we'll get something set up.
That'd
awesome.
be wonderful.
Yep.
Absolutely awesome. All
Thank
right,
you,
Rob.
gentlemen.
Thank you very much, buddy.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks for coming
All right,
on.
good night.
Man.
All right, guys, we're wrapping up. Mark, thanks for being here tonight.
My pleasure.
We appreciate your expertise in
All
just
right.
about everything, because you are a true
And you're
you're a champion of all things, buddy.
You definitely have a stable of professionals to add to this show. So
I may actually have some extra guests for you, so I'll reach out to you and we can talk about a few other guests you might want to have on.
Send it my way, man. Send the information my way. You know what I like about that? I don't have to do it. That's awesome.
You know, I got this guy from New Jersey. I think his name is like Steve Pacifico or something. He wants to be a guest on your show.
He hasn't done anything important, is it?
All right, guys. Hey, it's been a pleasure.
All right, Mark. Thanks, buddy.
all right, take care.
Good night, Ronnie.
Good night, Mark.
All right, guys. That's it.
Well, that was a good show. Very, very informative. Excellent
You know what?
guest.
Very,
Excellent.
very interesting show. The guys, I started watching the videos. I'm like, seriously, I think I want to go do that.
Yeah, I mean, that makes me want to make a trip.
I think I may do it like November-ish.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe even
December.
January.
I don't think August is going to be the time I go, but I think it's cool.
Yeah,
Very,
absolutely.
very cool. All right,
Absolutely.
Ronnie, I'm out of here.
All right, man. Thanks for watching, everybody.
No, I stop. I have to stop because I had this all planned out and then I forgot. We are wishing Celeste a happy. How old are you? 22.
70.
Happy birthday to Celeste tomorrow, and
happy birthday, Celeste.
happy birthday, Celeste. I almost forgot, but I did not forget. And that's it, guys. Everybody send Celeste happy birthday wishes now.
Okay. And
All right, guys. We'll see you later.
And Gene, we got your address.
Beautiful.
All righty.
See you later, man.